Right, guys, here we have a footballer called Tommy Smith. Okay? Now, Tommy Smith was a famous defender for Liverpool back in the 60s and 70s. Okay? Now, I read his article a couple of years ago, and he stated that back when he went to school, which would have been, the 50s and into the early 60s, he said that teachers just assumed that some children were more intelligent than others. Okay? Because back then, teachers, they had common sense. Now, that level of common sense is gone, and I've spoken about this many times. Teachers thinking that I was highly intelligent, even though I showed zero signs of intelligence, even though I was intellectually disabled, even though I did an excessive amount of study. I was the hardest worker in my class, and I still got the worst grades. Even though I got an IQ score of 70 when I was 17. The evidence was there, but the teachers, they just couldn't see it. Okay? Now, there's a couple of different reasons for this. I think teachers these days are very egotistical, very narcissistic. Narcissism is through the roof now. It's certainly a lot worse than it was 70 years ago. And I think teachers, they fail to see beyond the self. They're in ego consciousness. Okay? Because they have high IQs, they have above average IQs. They think every other student in the world is the same as them. They can't grasp the fact that different people have different abilities to them, that some people are a lot less intelligent than them, and some people are a lot more intelligent than they are. Okay? Now, when I was in sixth year at school, my maths teacher told me that the reason I was doing so badly at ordinary level maths is because I was not paying attention in class. Okay? Now, see, she was very egotistical and narcissistic. She thought that it's all about me. It's everything to do about me. If a student is doing badly in class, it is something to do with me. He must be failing the class on purpose just to annoy me or piss me off. Well, no, that wasn't the case because I had a very low IQ and I used to do an excessive amount of study and I felt burnt out and I just got fed up with doing so much study and getting such poor um results, And this is just the case nowadays. A lot of people they assume certainly the high IQ population thinks that everyone is a genius. You know what I mean? And they look their nose down on people like me working at McDonald's, people working in factories or in retail or as Lewis drivers, bus drivers, and it's just sad, because for some people, that's the best they can do. Not everyone is a genius, okay, and it's just really sad. I think society is very egotistical, narcissistic, and it's very unhealthy. It's very painful how weak society has become, and I think nutrition plays a role. This man Tommy Smith, according to his autobiography, his parents were used to sell fruits and vegetables for a living, and at the end of the day, they'd bring home all the leftover fruits and vegetables that weren't sold, and they'd eat them all. They eat the apples, the turnips, the potatoes, the cherries. So they ate plenty of fruits and vegetables back then. So yeah, I think most people were healthier back then. Because now we have chemical farming, and yeah, we have an abundance of food, but it's mostly crap food. Full of chemicals. Back then, there's less food. There would have been more like hunger and stuff, but at least the food back then was higher quality. It wasn't so processed and full of chemicals like it is today. Um, if you know what I mean. And they say that testosterone levels have decreased massively in the last 40 years. You know, and yeah, because when you have high testosterone levels, as a man, you are in a good position to be a leader, to nurture and protect those weaker than you in your tribe or family or whatever it is. Um, Now that testosterone levels have decreased so rapidly, people don't have that mindset anymore. They're like in the boyish mindset, and they're more narcissistic, and it's all me, 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 me. It's more about self-preservation than helping other people, and people just don't care about others anymore. And look, I'm not saying life was perfect back in the 1950s. It certainly was not, but I do believe that life in the 1950s for most people was better than it is today. You know what I mean? Studies show that people were happier. in the 1950s than they are today. And is there anything else I can say here on this topic? Uh, uh, I think this is one of the reasons why people they don't want freedom. They vote. They want big government control because they're so weak and narcissistic. They want someone to look after them. You know what I mean? They don't. They want people setting rules for them, dictating towards them in return for safety and protection, and it's having a very negative effect on people's lives because a lot of these people they're not able to control themselves. You know what I mean? They need some sort of authority figures to keep them in line. They need some sort of like fear of consequences for their actions in order to keep them in line. And they assume everybody else is like that in the world. And that's why they vote for big government control because they believe, oh, if human beings are given freedom, they'll go around and they'll kill people, they'll burn the cities down, and it'll go crazy. Yeah, of course, a lot of people would do that, but not everyone. Also, they said to me that, oh, I've got Asperger's syndrome, or I just learn differently, and I don't think that's the case. I mean, I think that is the case in some cases, but it's not the norm. Like there was a kid from Zimbabwe in my class called Tavanga, and he was very bad at a lot of the mainstream subjects like English, maths, Irish, science, but he was very very good at music. He even got a scholarship. He was unbelievably good at playing the piano. He played the piano in front of my class when I was in first year, and we were blown away. So yeah, look, that exists in some cases, but you cannot just assume that a kid is intelligent because they learn a different way. They have to show competence in at least one area before you can start to say that they're intelligent. You know what I mean? Um, but no, that's not how teachers think these days. They think the vast majority of them think that every single student on the planet is a genius, and if they fail in class, it's because it's all about me. It's because they're trying to piss me off. You know what I mean? And the saddest part of all is a lot of people they just don't want to be helped. If you point out their flaws and you try to give them constructive criticism, they'll just get angry at you and start shouting at you. And those people are beyond help. I mean, you need to want to be helped in order to be helped. You know what I mean? It's a two-way system. You can't expect someone to just come and save you when you make no effort to save yourself.